Hey everybody, in this lesson we'll just be looking at some questions which have and contain a bit of heavier algebra and equations related stuff to do with Pythagoras theorem. So in this first question which I'll just do part A, part C, and part F. Okay, and with these three questions you should be able to do part B, D, and E as examples for yourself. So with question 1a, you've given a right angle triangle with x and x here as our shorter sides and our hypotenuse as 32. We're asked to find out the value of x in this triangle correct to one decimal place. So remember our formula is c squared equals a squared plus b squared, okay, where our hypotenuse is c, that's 32. So we'll have 32 squared equal to a squared and b squared. Now in this case, a squared and b squared are both x's, so we're going to write x squared plus x squared. Now in my calculator, I'll calculate what 32 squared is. That'll give me 1024. Now these two here are like terms. So if you have x squared plus x squared, this is the same thing as 1x squared plus 1x squared. So if we add those numbers, which we call coefficients, together, we'll get 2x squared. It's like saying, you know, an apple plus an apple is 2 apple. But instead of x squared, we have x squared plus x squared equals 2x squared. Okay, it follows this kind of same logic behind that. So now that we have that, we're going to solve for x squared. And to solve for a quadratic like this, we should get rid of that 2 first, okay? So we're going to divide both sides by 2. So on this side, if I get 1024 divided by 2, I will get the number 512 equal to x squared, because 2 divided by 2 is 1. So I'll get x squared equals 512. Now, if I take the square root of both sides, right? The square root of this side is root 512. But if I take the square root of this side, then the square root and the square cancel. Okay? So that means I'll have x left. So x would equal to the square root of 512, which we know as 22.62 ... on our calculators. And because the question says to round to one decimal place, we're going to round this one decimal place by looking at the second number after the decimal place. That's a 2, which is less than 5. So that means the number before it, which is 6, is going to be staying put where it is. So this will be 22.6 with no units. Let's have a look at C. For question C, we have got a question related to Pythagoras theorem once again, running a triangle. We've got our hypotenuse here as 62. Okay, so I'm going to replace our C here by 62. That'll be 62 squared equals to a squared plus b squared. So a is basically any of these ones. Okay, so it could be 2x or x. I'm just going to let it be 2x. And then the other one is b. So we'll have 2x all squared plus x squared. The way you write 2x all squared is not like this. Okay, so this part is going to be written wrong. You must have a brackets around the 2x in order for the square to affect both the 2 and the x. Okay, you must do that. So 62 squared is the same thing as 3,844. Okay. Now, how this works, okay, this 2x squared works, is that you can square both the 2 and the x. The square of 2, okay, is going to be 4, because it means 2 times 2. The square of x means x squared, okay? Then we plus by x squared at the end. Another way of looking at this is this. If I have 2x all squared, that means the same thing as 2x times by itself. So if we multiply those numbers there, the 2 times 2 is 4 that we got here. And the x times x here gives us x squared, which is this part. Okay, so that's another way to explain that. Now, 4x squared plus 1x squared, if we add the coefficients of that together, we get 5x squared. So we have 3,844 equals to 5x squared. Now remember, we can't square this yet, okay? You can't do that. You need to actually divide both sides by that 5 first. Okay? And by dividing 3,844 by 5, I get 768.8 equals to x squared. And now I'm allowed to square both sides so that I can remove that square there. So the square of this side and square of that side means that these squares and square roots cancel. So I would get the square root of 768.8 equals to x. Okay, so remembering to drop down that square to just the x there when you squared it. Then once I square root, that answer would be 27.72 ... So it will be rounded to 27.7, I guess, because 2 is a number lower than 5. All right. Question F basically follows the same process, except there's a 3x there. Okay, let me just write that down. So let's follow that same formula that we had before. C squared equals A squared plus B squared. Okay, our Pythagoras theorem formula. Now C in this case is the number 9. It's the highest value and opposite the 90-degree angle. So 9 squared or equal to x squared plus 3x squared. Okay, like that. Now 9 squared, as you know, is 81. X squared is just x squared. And if you square a 3x, that means the same thing as 3x times 3x. So 3 times 3 is 9, and x times x here is x squared. So we'll get 9x squared. Adding these two together will give us 10x squared. Okay, because in front of the x squared is a 1, so 1 plus 9 is 10. Then we divide both sides by 10 to eliminate that 10 and just leave out just the x squared for us to square it later. So 81 divided by 10 gives us 8.1, sorry. That's equal to x squared. Now, if you take the square root of both sides, then this will cancel. So that on the right side you have x, left side is the square root of 8.1. So that x will now equal to 2.846 ... And to one decimal place, if we just draw a line after one number after the dot, the 4 rounds the 8 down. So that will be 2.8 as the nearest number. It will be to one decimal place.